Hello and welcome. Thank you for watching this video. My name is Crystal. This is 3 out of 6 videos on why Googling Tantra will change your life. Um, so I think for me, this is a big one, and this is how learning the practice of Tantra, you are given the opportunity to work on your stuff. You are given a platform, a toolbox, a way, a path on um, how to become a better person, the greatest aspect of who you are. So before I move into that, let me talk about a bit about myself. So I have been teaching yoga now for the last long time. So that's last, like, let's say 5 years. And I've also been a energy worker, assisting people on emotional intelligence, Reiki, um, body awareness, meditation, all that fun stuff. And Tantra came into my life a little bit later, actually. And one of the reasons why is my current partner, my baby daddy, is someone that has been practicing Tantra for 10 years. And so our library over here has a whole bunch of books on Tantra. And so I would say that at the beginning of my experience with my sexuality, I would say that because I had a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, I didn't have a lot of body awareness. I would say that my sexual experience was not the greatest, you know? And as I age, as I got older, I started being able to have an orgasm. It was very challenging for me to have that before. I think it's harder for women, especially if they haven't had any practice with self-pleasure, masturbation. So I was told by a teacher that masturbation, what it actually means, the definition of it, means to shame oneself. Yeah, no wonder we feel guilty when we do it with that word, eh? So yeah, I like to use self-pleasure. So because girls, women, we're not really taught about learning about our bodies and whatnot, it's harder for us to experience real pleasure with someone else. So as the time went by, I started being able to experience my sexuality and orgasms and all that fun stuff. However, as the time went by, okay, I had orgasms. That was great and that was awesome, but I felt like something was missing. I didn't know what it was. I really didn't. And I thought maybe there was something wrong with me. Like, why would I want more? And then I met my partner, and our experience together was life-changing. It was a very physical, emotional, mental, spiritual experience. It didn't last for just a few minutes, it was hours. And it's not just like the first, few months of us being together, it still is that way. Not every time, but if you know what I mean. So what I came to realize, I was really looking for this deep emotional connection, and I was able to experience that with my partner, and mainly because he's been able to practice Tantra for so long. So yes, he's able to postpone his orgasm, and he's able to experience multi-orgasms. These are all great things, but that's not the point. Too, it's when you start to learn the practice of Tantra, when you start to embody with yourself, the experience with your partners is ever greater, because it's a very deep, sacred connection. There's that eye gaze, there's this deep presence that you have with someone else, where you actually feel energetically, you feel their cells responding to your body. You're really present, and absolutely, there's comes a point where you have to communicate what you like and what you don't, but you get to a point where your partner gets to actually physically feel what feels good, you know? So why I'm mentioning this is, as I began to explore Tantra even more, I realized stuff came up for me, very deep, deep things that either I thought I worked on or I had no idea was there. So again, I'll mention that I had been on a path of self-development, I would say for the last 10 years, and it's been up and down since then. But what I realized is when I learned Tantra, I became more aware of my blind spots. And I came to see that because I rejected at one point when I got older my first faith, which was Christianity. You know, I wanted to move away from that and learn and have a deeper connection with God my way instead of being imposed on. So I went around, I learned different spiritual practices, different, you know, rituals, different religions, and so on. And what I realized, coming back to full circle, because I still really believe in the word of Christ as well, is that when people are on a spiritual path, what ends up happening is there's so many different venues that you're learning about that it can be very ungrounding. Okay, and what I'm more interested in now, and what I will be working with my clients, is a very grounded, very simple techniques and practices that is very human. So forget the spiritual part, which is very human. And I find that on the path, there's like this pushing away of of being human. You know, we want to be higher, but then it's very ungrounded. You forget, you know, the fact that you're here in this body. And so Tantra, what made me realize is that as humans, we have basically, throughout so many years of programming, have come to this. What I came to realize on myself is, first you're taught to suppress your desires. Desires are bad, they're not good. And that's expressed in many, many different religions, okay? Then society teaches us that somehow um, it makes you dependent on people if you express your needs. And so we get to a point where we don't know how to express the needs that we need from others. And on top of that, what ends up happening is we also reject our own needs, okay? So let me step back for a second. Because we suppress our desires, our pleasures, in so many ways, I'm not just talking about sexual pleasure that brings us to life, because we don't really give that importance, you know, our creativity, what ends up happening is addictions come in. Because somewhere that energy, that inspiration has to go somewhere, and it ends up going to addictions, okay, to destruction. And then you move up and you got the needs. Now we're pushing away our needs. We're not communicating what we need from our relationships. And maybe because when we were young, when we tried to express that with our family, what we needed from our parents, and they basically rejected it, what ended up happening was we've learned that there's no even point of asking for what we need, because it's not going to be given anyways. So then what we do is subconsciously we also reject our own needs, our own self-care, self-love. And so when we don't have self-love, self-care, how are our relationships going to be? How are we going to love ourselves and each other? And then we move to the latter part, which is the spiritual path that I think sometimes leads people astray in the world of, I don't know, ungroundedness. Is that then there's this thing about thoughts are bad, the ego, and all that stuff, you know, and how meditation, which, listen, I practice meditation, but it's still very important for us to realize the sacredness of our thoughts, because our thoughts create our reality. And so learning different tools, not just one way of meditating, but different ways, because what ends up happening is that people reject their thoughts. People begin to judge their thoughts. So we're judging our mind, we're judging our hearts, our needs, we're judging our desires, we're judging everything. Of course, we live in a world of craziness. Look at our world. So no matter what, whether we're spiritual, religious, or atheist, they get us somewhere along the line. Somehow, they do. So, in Tantra, you start to bring a deeper sacredness to your body, to your emotions, your mind, your feelings, your relationships. And because of that, you change. And it's not going to be easy. It's going to have its ups and downs, because when you're dealing with your stuff, with your shit, it's never going to feel always so good and rainbows and butterflies. No. Tantra helps us to become authentic, to become genuine, not positive nor negative, becoming aware of both, that we hold both.